Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with one of the most fascinating anime arcs of all time. Have you heard of the leak arc in One Piece? You haven't? Well, guess what? We're going over it today because there has been a major Starfield leak. I don't know where I was going with that. That was a horrible intro, but you get the point, is that this is a multi-year arc spanning back to 2018 with leaks on one of these godforsaken websites where they're extremely hard to read and everyone's usernames are numbers. You're like, what am I, on a Morse code website or some BS? Anyway, it turns out that a lot of the things that a supposed Bethesda programmer who was leaking stuff for Starfield ended up being entirely accurate year over year over year. So what we're gonna do is highlight those leaks and then get into some of the new stuff they leaked and what may be one of the most insane leaks I have personally seen in my time covering video games, let alone Bethesda, who typically doesn't have serious leaks like this. Now again, I don't like to use this as a line of defense because I think it's getting old in today's culture with social media and how fast information spreads, but grain of salt moment here because I don't like these types of websites, but at the same time, the consistency here in the small details, like even down to the ladders, which if you know, you know, that is something that really made me start to buy into this. You'll see what I mean as we go through this. But anyway, to those of you looking for more Starfield news, informations, discussions, breakdowns, all that stuff, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing. Let's talk about this leak. We're going to begin this story, this anime arc for One Piece in 2018. And we're just going to run down a number of things that this supposed Bethesda programmer has said that if you watched any of the Starfield gameplay or the reveal trailer in 2021, you know ends up being true. Now, first you need to have a picture in your head of what the times were like when this leak was coming around. It was December 2018. We're in a post-Fallout 76 world. The world is literally on fire. There's a canvas bag shortage, and no one has any faith in Bethesda Game Studios. They just launched one of the worst video games ever, and it's completely broken. They look incompetent because they couldn't even handle multiplayer. It's just not a good look for them. So these leaks for Starfield are kind of going under the radar. So let's begin, as I said, in 2018, where it says that if they try dropping Starfield down, not only would it be buggy as all hell, but it wouldn't be a game. That's like 2 to 3 years from release, even that. And if you look back at some of the older leaks, I was one of the people talking about it, the reports were from trusted sources, 2021, but then the memo had changed. So then carrying it further into stuff that is a lot more legitimized, he mentions things like flying a spaceship. You got to remember, again, when multiplayer was failing for Starfield, no one was really thinking you'd be having some form of vehicle traversal in the game. He also mentions that something much more concrete, well, you'll be happy to know, we are planning to expand the building a bit more to an overview system, which we saw with the top-down settlement building, and that'll be used to make ships, which we also saw was confirmed. In the meantime, they do mention that the FOV will be customizable in Starfield because that's been a big complaint for Bethesda Game Studios games for a while. They also mentioned that it is helping with the gunplay. This is something that carries over from Fallout 4. Machine Games also helped on some of the gunplay for that game, so that's nothing necessarily new. Continuing on, they talk about the actual progression, the RPG systems within Starfield, and it may look mighty familiar based on what we saw. Our game is more of an organic growth game with Morrowind RPG systems coming back in a deeper form, but more organic to Skyrim's leveling by action, and we will be helping to expand this through a spaceship that will grow with you in not only tech, but crew. And then you see now, it has been confirmed by Todd Howard, you're going to be able to get new crew members for your spaceship. It's been confirmed that there will be progression by action. We saw the skill tree, and underneath each of the skills in the game were challenges you had to complete. And once you completed those, you would get skill points to spend. So it is progression by action, as we saw. So you're starting to see a level of consistency here in the early parts of development. Continuing on, he says, yes, since Havoc has been removed and now the physics and animations have been added with our own tools and pipeline, the glitches with that are gone for the most part. Still working on more complex animations, like when I first started posting, ladders have been added to the game. I know that does not seem like a worthwhile note, but is big in the terms of a complex animation work. This is a big deal because it wasn't until 2021 that we saw ladders in Starfield, and that ladders you could interact with, because it was confirmed they weren't going to be things you attached to and that you would just climb in real time, but that there would be an animation system there. These are the more minuscule details that to me suggest This is someone relatively in the know among everything else we're going to see in this video. Something like that doesn't just pop up, right? Something like the spaceship customization, you could just toss out there and go, that might be a lucky guess. But something like the ladders is what makes it worth entertaining to me. And you see a lot of that cropping up. The overview, the camera perspective, it's one thing to say we're bringing back settlement building, but to say you're going to have an overview mode, that's indeed important. Saying, hey, you're going to be able to expand your ships. Okay, I can buy that. Expand your crew, though. That was recently confirmed. These are things that we didn't know about up until this year. So to me, this does signify someone who's at least relatively in the know. Now, considering some of you are buying in, one of the relatively newer details here is that he mentions there's talk of an augmentation system, less cyberpunk-like, more biotech. And we wanted to have visual effects on the players. Todd was really inspired by Chris Roberts' Death of a Spaceman story with Star Citizen and sent the team on more complex character designs and the possibility of them getting scarred and stuff from battles. So that would actually be really interesting to see that. Right now, it looks like Starfield's technology is sort of hedging on the level of like, we're just getting out into space and learning what's there, but we're not truly in the future, kind of like maybe Mass Effect. But just a little nugget there if it ends up being true. This could be a level of customization we have yet to see in Starfield. Now, I don't want to sit here and sing the praises of this leaker because one of the disproven parts of it all is here where he says at the moment, our plan for the start is we want to allow players to have their own start like the alternate start mod based on race and class. That's all I know for the story because it is agreed to be the best way to start the game, where Todd has mentioned in an interview afterwards that there is a sort of set path where you begin. However, there is a character background that you can select, which does allow you to have a small home on a moon, and it's possible that you would start the game there. But Todd did say this is something that would be relatively firm for players before it opened up. So this is something that could have changed early in development. We're talking 2018, but now we leapfrog into 2019. This leaker appears again to talk about Fallout 76 once more. Same story, I'm a programmer there. If you have any questions, he again focuses mostly on Fallout 76, but he mentions here that they're creating what is called a classic Bethesda game, and that's going to be their biggest game ever. Simply being able to work on a project that is 100% ours and not trying to follow up on one that is started by others. So it's something that seems to be liberating for the team, but overall, everything else in this was focusing on Fallout 76, so there isn't much there to bite on. Now, this leaker disappears for a couple of years. We don't hear much about them. We go into 2021. It's June, early June of 2021. So again, remember, we have yet to see Starfield outside of leaked screenshots at this point, because now we're in the era where after the Bethesda acquisition, screenshots started to surface online. So this is also still worth entertaining because again, you're going to see key components here that no one knew about yet. We only have predictions. This is a new IP, nothing to base it all off of, and they got a lot right. So let's get it started. The reason this leaker did appear, as you'll see in this image here, is someone was posting that they were actually playing a demo of Starfield. They go, wow, you're fake. If you have any questions, allow me to answer them. They respond to some of the claims in here, saying that the first-person camera is more akin to Fallout 4. They say the gameplay exists of exploring a universe, and that there's bits of space travel to debris fields surrounding Earth due to our trash gathering up there, which is believable because in my trailer breakdown, you may or may not have seen that I mentioned that there is some NASA imagery in there. There is United States imagery there, which means that Earth is a presence in this game, but likely not on Earth itself. And they mentioned that there is also same-sex romance, where in the same light as Fallout 4 and Skyrim, you can pretty much bang anyone you want, as any good RPG allows you to do. Now, continuing on with stuff that they seem to be dead on the money for, exploration's a huge part of the game. One of the major things we designed was the core central universe, with a long story behind it, with many different planets to visit based off of it. It's pretty open-ended, where you can go to system to system. You can land on all planets and moons that have physical lands. Right there, it's like, again, we're talking 2021, where we're just learning what Starfield is. All we see is a moon, a spaceship, a character, and Vasco. And there's some context clues of the story and what's going on with Constellation on the wall of the ship in this trailer, but otherwise, no indication of going system to system. And we hadn't laid eyes on the game yet, so it's not even like if you saw that trailer early, you could put those pieces together, again indicating someone in the know, because this is right on. You know, not just system to system, but as Todd said, you can land on these barren planets and you can explore them. And this is where details, new details potentially start to roll out about the game more and more. He mentions that the crew helps man weapons, perform repairs on the ship, and fly, etc. Yes, you can command pretty large ships, and you can bring your crew members down to the planet to assist you in the settlement and questing. You saw the influence of the dialogue wheel in Fallout 4. We sadly took the influence of 2 crewmates with you instead. He also mentions using procedural generation to generate the planets themselves, as Todd Howard had confirmed, and then the artists would go through and touch them up in the playable zones, but that you could continue to run through them to your heart's content. He's currently holding back story leaks, fortunately, saying there's an overarching plot to drive the player to go planet to explore, but I'm not going to reveal it as I like the premise behind the concept and I want to keep the reveal hidden. This is, again, right on the money. We know that there's going to be planet-to-planet exploration with this story because they kind of show that in the trailer, right? They show Neon, they show New Atlantis, they show Aquila, they show all of these important places in Starfield, and you meet up with Constellation. They tell you you're looking for answers as to what's going on out there, is their wording. So continuing on, we still have a decent amount to go through here. When it's talking about the scale of the planets that you can explore, they say massive compared to Fallout 4 and Skyrim. I can't really put a size on it since I'm not at work to look at some of them, but much bigger than them. As for any spherical, to you, yes. To me, no. We use a trick where you go on one end of the planet and you just go zoom to the other side to conserve memory. Same with space being a giant picture show like Outer Wilds, which I haven't played, so I can't really comment on. But they talk about loading screens as well. It's one big illusion, technically. Yes, but also no. When you hit the cloud layer of a planet, you get a pseudo loading screen and then you enter the planet's atmosphere. Again, this is something that was confirmed when we saw Todd Howard's interview, that there isn't going to be a seamless transition from the ground to space. Continuing on, he mentions in a new detail, you can fly your ship around in the atmosphere and there are little rovers. When you look at some concept art, you do see a rover here on this ice planet, but the actual ability to fly around, say, over New Atlantis could be cool because Todd did also mention, hey, you can land your ship anywhere, but we didn't think we could just fly within the atmosphere anywhere. That could get crazy in a sandbox way, and I imagine that's going to be off the chain if there's like, imagine, like, I'm getting way out of myself, but imagine there's like building-based destruction, real-time destruction that someone could mod in. That'd be insane. The things you could do when flying around the atmosphere. But also the mention of rovers, let's not skim over that. This is something that I speculated about because when you use procedural generation, just things are naturally going to be bigger. And if you have a rover that lets you travel on the ground quicker, it wouldn't make sense they make all these vehicle controls just for one thing in the sky, but when you're on the ground, it's all on foot. I would imagine carrying a vehicle with you would be something you'd want to do. So hopefully that is something that carries over, especially if these planets are that big and modders plan on making use of them. You can zip to one end of the planet very quickly in these rovers, but I'm excited about that. These are the types of things that, again, is why I say this is less No Man's Sky and more Mass Effect, provided this leak ends up being true. Talking about the pace of the game, he says, it depends on the players. Personally, I think people who like sci-fi games and are fans of slower paced games will enjoy it. I don't think the looter shooter type from Fallout 4 or 76 will very much enjoy this 100% without adjusting to the original style of Bethesda games, such as Morrowind, where you had to search for everything in the story. He also confirms that there is a settlement takeover system now. I directly worked on the AI for that, same as how AI can actually build their own settlements as well, which would kind of be like this settlement city mod that we've seen in the past for Fallout, and having that be the Starfield version of it. This would be huge if any of this ends up being true. This would be exciting because then you could start building on a settlement and come back, and this planet that was originally barren is now a mega city. And if that could attract people to arrive to your planet and give you unique quests, like, to me, that would be the cherry on top moment to make it worth building, because it's cool to generate resources and that stuff, and I do want that. But for me, more than anything, I wanted to bring unique content to these planets. That is my hope. But of course, I think modders will answer that more than Bethesda. But still, this is absolutely an insane leak because of how much they got right and then how much they're putting out there that could possibly be true. Again, all this ahead of the 2021 trailer being shown off. We still have a little bit more to go through. where he mentions dialogue options are back and a voiceless protagonist, as we learned our lesson from Fallout 4. This was something that was confirmed just a couple of weeks ago after the reveal of the gameplay, that yes, your protagonist is silent. They said it on Twitter, and there's going to be these dialogue options. So right on the money, bang, again. Now, with all of that consistency, I wanted to leave you all with one last exciting detail here, that he wanted to expand upon aliens. He said that there's 9 alien races. There's been a lot of debate in the Starfield community on if these aliens are going to be, say, the creatures you fight, or are they going to be an intelligent alien race like, say, the Asari that you interact with, that you talk with. And he says here, I want to quickly append into the alien thing, as that is a guess on intelligent races. And I may be wrong on that exact number. Again, he gave us 9. And a lot of people thought this wouldn't be the case because you're playing as a human in this game. And I would have loved to start the game as an alien, kind of Elder Scrolls it up a little bit. Like, could you play as the Khajiit? Could you play as the Nord, so on and so forth, and have dialogue respond to that? Maybe that has yet to be shown. We'll see, but I'm not really holding my breath. I feel they would have shown that in the Starfield gameplay reveal, so maybe that got cut. But the fact that maybe you can interact with other alien races that are intelligent is something I'm really, really hoping for. But anyway, that's everything we have spanning across 3 years of what seems to be a pretty accurate Starfield leak. And if it is true, a lot of what we heard here on a gameplay level is exciting, and kudos to this leaker for not ruining the story. I wanted to make sure, again, I put that up front in the video because I didn't want people to click on it and be like, oh God, I don't want to ruin the game for myself. So yeah, it seems like Bethesda has a lot of surprises in store for us if this is true, that could expand upon what we've already seen. And again, really solidifying that rain or shine, this game is going to be ambitious. We'll see if it ends up delivering, but it's going to be ambitious. Again, provided it's true. We'll see in due time. What is your read of this leak? Do you buy into it? Do you like what you heard here at all? Fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.